We've got Brandon Lipman on, and also a member of the family. Not my family, but the Blueprint family as well.
But also your family.
Originally property investor, a financial advisor, a business entrepreneur, venture capitalist. Your journey is a bit of inspiration because we can track it.
I remember seeing the Manhattan skyline on flight into New York when we came over from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I was just enamored with the scale of opportunity that existed.
At the peak of your mortgage career, what sort of volumes of lending were you doing?
100 billion, baby. That was actually the loneliest part of the journey. I got a copy of the Yellow Pages and I just started flicking through it. He said, well, you're trying to buy businesses. And that's what Graham Hart did. Why don't you just figure out what he did? I took one read of that 72-page document. I said, that's the Bible.
Good businesses will get snapped up.
Fastest hands in the game.
The next episode, a very special episode of the Blueprint podcast. We've got Brandon Lipman on, originally property investor, a financial advisor, a business entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and also a member of the family. Not my family, but the Blueprint family as well.
But also your family.
Yeah.
100%.
You guys go back quite far.
We've known each other a very long time.
Yeah, I've known him his whole life.
29 years, in fact.
Yep. He's my closest mentor, and he's also an investor in Blueprint. So Blueprint would not be here at the scale it is today without his help. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to educate our clients, our referral partners, and just the Blueprint network with some interesting thoughts, because your journey is a bit of inspiration. Because, you know, we can track it. We'll go through your origin story in a second, but we can track it and identify all your learnings, your growths, and how you came to your current investment strategy and what you're trying to build for your life. So, mate, thanks so much for coming on.
Right, anytime. Pleasure to be here. It's always great to spend time with you guys, especially you. And I'm really humbled to see the kind of business that you've built.
Oh, awesome.
Because obviously we worked together in business before. I'm sure we're going to touch on that as well.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see you be able to put together something like this. And it makes me very proud.
Oh, thanks, mate. No, happy to hear that.
Yeah.
We're pretty proud as well.
Yeah,
aren't we?
we're proud, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rory and I bloody flog ourselves, and we work pretty hard. So, and so the whole team as well. So, we're really happy to have you on.
Well, mate, you're one of us. You know, you've been there, done that in the financial services space, and now you're an entrepreneur, so doing something quite different. But take us back to when you were on the tools as a financial advisor, kind of what you created. And just fill us in on that part of your journey.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess when I had a job, right, which sounds sounds wild. It sounds really wild for me to think back to when I actually had a job. I was working at a bank.
Yeah.
Can I say the bank's now? Was it not?
We might have to bleep it out.
Okay,
No, you can say it.
It was the blue bank, right? So at least
It's a dark blue,
it's the blue banks. But I started to really gravitate towards wanting to understand what business was like in general. And working in the bank, I was very kind of enamored about working in an environment where I could engage with different business owners to understand very much their origin stories, their business, how they run their companies, because I would find inspiration in that, because I knew that that's where I wanted to head in the future.
Yes.
And working for the bank was great, and I ran into very early the semantics or office politics of mid-level management, or needing to do your time in certain roles before you can be promoted or move to a certain
Challenges
move to where you
I
want to
think
go.
We've all gone through.
Everyone goes
20s
through.
has been through that. Yeah.
Everyone does, and rightly or wrongly, I took to that with a very poor attitude. Right? There's an element of stubbornness, right, that I think I just exuded probably as a person, where I just ran straight into a brick wall. And I thought to myself, if I was going to face that there is just no point in living a life full of that and having other people responsible for my trajectory or whatever I wanted to do.
You didn't want to do your time.
They
wanted you to do your time.
Your time was up. It was very much up. And along the way, I was thinking about other things that I could do. Like I ran a small basketball league for a bit, which I think you played in.
Yeah.
Right. So ran that for a little bit. Had a couple side hustles going on. Interestingly, there was one of my side hustles was actually flipping concert tickets.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I ever told you this.
No.
Scalping.
No, not scalping. It's flipping. It's flipping.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Like
That's so interesting.
I never told you this.
Because I worked at Ticketmaster, mate. You didn't.
Yeah, no, it was never. It was never.
You didn't want to tell me because you thought I'd knock
Conflict of interest.
and then we're both in trouble. But this one flip was really interesting. It was a 660 ticket.
Yeah.
And so
That's a hot ticket.
And it was when 660 was really on the up.
Yeah.
Right? And so
sort of 2015, 16. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really wanted to go to the show out at Mount Maunganui.
Yeah.
Myself and my girlfriend at the time, we were going to plan a little trip and we were going to go to see them at the Mount. It was going to be fun.
Lovely.
And I looked at the tickets, they had sold out already and they'd doubled in price. So I didn't want to pay like 300 and something bucks for the ticket.
Yeah.
But the Villa Maria sale was still on. So
Oh,
I
yes.
bought some for Villa Maria, waited for it to sell out,
Yeah.
and then I flipped it so that I could then I'll only have paid the 160 for
Yeah.
the tickets over it.
That's genius.
Instant equity sort of.
Yeah, just trying to be as resourceful as possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And in that process, one person who actually messaged me to buy the tickets ended up becoming my future business partner.
Yeah.
Right. And that was Andrew.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. And so in the conversation, he was interested in buying them and he had seen that we had some mutual friends because we went to the same high school. I think he was 5-6 years older than me.
Yeah.
And
McLean's
I worked-
College up the castle.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Represent, right? And so, yeah, and that led to a conversation just saying, look, if you ever get tired of the bank, like, let me know. And I was tired months ago.
Yeah.
Right? I never really wanted to be there, but I played it cool and I wanted to learn more about it. And when I started to see the kind of company that they were building, I realized that I was going to get to operate much closer to the owners of a business,
Yes.
so key decision makers, people who are young and our age and just really inspiring to be around too. Some like genuine like entrepreneur geniuses
Yes.
as well, right?
Yeah.
Like if we think about that, and we'll touch on it later, but that company like was full of great people.
If you see where they're all at now,
Totally.
it's like,
Yeah,
that environment, not sorry to interrupt, but even down to the likes of Paul Minus,
Right.
who's a very successful
Yeah.
productivity consultant and sort of CRM coach.
Totally.
And just the way he thinks about task management, how to run your day.
Right.
You don't have to be self-employed to know that time management, whether you're good at it or not, is going to make you or break you, right?
Exactly. And we were a highly effective team.
Yeah.
Right. And we could name individual. It was really like the poor man's PayPal mafia, right? Am I right?
So who's Elon Musk? Are you Elon Musk?
No way. No way.
Probably Chuckle Paul, Elon Musk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we have, well, maybe one of the Krebs twins?
Oh, true.
Maybe.
Yeah, true.
Or both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I looked at the opportunity and I realized, well, before that, I was really into property and think that was going to be the investment strategy that I would carry through.
Yeah.
But
Because you would purchase your first home. I saw
Yeah.
interrupt. I need to let the viewers know.
Yeah, right.
This guy, we lived together with our parents, and he was saving for his first home deposit when he was 22. And he worked full time during the day, and then he worked night shift at Countdown, night filling.
yeah,
Filling
9
this-
p.m. until 5 a.m.
There you go.
So let's
There you
not
go.
make any delusions that this guy is just, he's not
Lucky.
afraid of hard
Yeah.
work. And he would work freaking hard, with the hardest working guys I know. And he worked his way up at Countdown Highland Park. And he was known for his scan rate. He had an incredible quick scan rate. I think he had
Fastest hands in the game. Mate.
yeah, that's what they know him as.
You can get
Is that
back on
verified
until-
that you were one of the
I
fastest?
didn't win any awards, but,
Yeah, right.
but like colloquially, like if you're in
Check
a
out,
working,
we talk about it, but check
It
out.
was known.
Yeah.
it's office chat.
Yeah.
People in a hurry
Yeah.
would find you out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that part was actually I didn't really see it as anything aggressively tough because it was back before AirPods, so we had like the cabled.
That's right.
The cable thing and like iPod Touch,
Yeah.
right? And I found that you could download all of Hamish and Andy's podcasts.
Oh,
so I just went
incredible.
and locked all of them. We'd get like 10, 15 episodes a night, just shovel them in, and
Yeah.
I'd just be listening to Hamish and Andy the whole night.
Just like you're not even working, eh?
Yeah. And look, so yeah, I
And
was
you-
really
and then you bought your first investment property
right
before this.
before going to the bank
even.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we go down that rabbit hole, the the environment to buy investment property back in like 2014, 2015 was completely different.
And exactly. Yeah.
So I bought a place in Hamilton because Auckland was running hot, but you could buy with a 10% interest only mortgage, like a 10% down payment for an interest only mortgage for an investment property.
That's insane, eh?
Right. And the rates are about high fours, maybe 5 when I had done it, right?
And everyone's
Crazy.
concerned about how we had all this crazy property inflation. It's
What were we expecting?
People could buy at 10%.
Yeah.
And people could revalue their properties immediately and access the equity at a main bank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the market was about to run hot. And I obviously got in. I got it at a great price. I bought a place for $270,000, which now would have been worth, I think, upwards of $6 quite easily.
6 to
Had a bit of land on it. But what screwed me up was that shortly after buying the property, the LVR rules changed. And so we went from needing a 10% down payment to 40%. So all of a sudden, any equity that I could have drawn out, no matter what I did, built like a palace or anything on the property or whatever, I'd now be subject to much harsher like equity requirements to keep doing deals.
Yeah.
So again, I took a look at that and thought, well, that's really, I know a lot of things are going to be out of your control, but I felt like the rules and the fundamentals that I needed to play that game at the scale that I wanted to be able to play it was just completely changed overnight.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to base like a strategy off of building wealth or building income off of a particular asset class, I'd need to be ready for that. And I just looked and I said, well, okay, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just, that wasn't the game that I was going to play. But I had this brilliant idea because I was working at Countdown at the time. I thought if I wanted to learn about money, I should just go where they keep the money, which is at a bank.
Stands to reason.
Right. It's proximity.
Perfect logic.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when I started to see that at the bank, they would treat different customers differently. But you'd hear how different clients would be subject to different things like term deposit rates or interest rates, and that there were different segments of the bank that you could fit in. And it always seemed that business owners got towards these certain areas of the banks where the rules were a little more grayed out than the black and whites that you have for retail.
Yeah.
Like retail
Mum and
investment.
dad investors.
And so we know that those rules were different, and I understood that that's where I needed to start operating within. Yeah. And so to me, it just made perfect sense that business was the way forward. Yeah. And so then fast forward, after working at the bank, running into issues with mid-level management, it then made so much sense to leave the bank and then go and work at this early stage company where we'd be closer to the founders, closer to the decision makers, closer to people who are similar thinking, and just surround myself with people who were always going to go on and do great things because that's what I was going to be able to absorb. It's very different to working in a corporate environment and you transcend you transcend your knowledge and your comprehension of business so much quicker by putting yourself in an environment like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll fast forward through that advisor journey.
All right.
But the headlines are you were very successful as an advisor. You ran a highly successful advice team, exclusively doing mortgages for many, many New Zealand homeowners, and you mentored the 3 directors of Blueprint through the process. So you gave back.
Got you into the game, didn't he? Did he
100% pulled me into it.
Invited you in.
I was thinking of going to the bank as well. I've always followed in my brother's footsteps, but
Did you get to work at Countdown?
No. I did. I worked at
Tickets.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Best job I ever had. Other than this.
Yeah.
Best job ever. So much fun.
At the peak of the sorry to interrupt your flow there, but just at the peak of your mortgage career, what sort of volumes of lending were you doing?
100 million, baby.
Yeah.
Nice. Have to hit the 100 million figure at some point. Like, I think that as an advisor, you can make the argument that you want to be personable and that you want to give your clients a very huggy, feely kind of a service, which I think you can deliver at volume and at scale as well.
It's just process.
It's process. But at that point, when you do so much volume as a mortgage advisor, think about it this way. If you sat next to someone who was doing 20 million in mortgages, or if you sat next to someone who's doing 100 million in mortgages, you're going to run into the real nuts and bolts of the actual mortgage process that are going to make you a phenomenal advisor. It'll take you 5 years to learn to learn the lessons of $100 million worth of mortgages, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to sit at volume. You just can't, because you need to run into the problems, you need to run into the bottlenecks so that you can learn how to unwork all of those constraints very quickly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up in an environment where you're learning too slow, you don't know how to operate with quirky deals. You think about an environment like Blueprint, where you guys do so much lending as a group. That's where you're going to be able to learn and actually teach people.
Agreed.
And also teach yourself more about mortgages, not just, like, for example, if I came into the mortgage industry today, I'd need to start, I know the basics, but the rules are different. So it's also about the modern lending rules and lending regulations as well.
Indeed.
So you need volume. And we had another one of the owners as well, also doing 100 million at that point too.
Yeah.
And we were ranked, I think, 3rd and 4th in the country in terms of volume. So we were a proper factory.
You were smashing it.
We were.
Yeah.
It was good times. And my opinion is volume leads to better customer outcomes because you refine the process. Each and every deal you get a bit better. Client gets a better experience, but you also learn all of the current potholes. So you can avoid any issues that the clients are going to run into during their lending application process. But yeah, no, that was really good. And then it came to the point, obviously, you're a partner of the business and you made this shift in your career where you moved away from financial advisor service, you are the product, to I'm going to be a true form entrepreneur and be a business owner. And we want to talk about that thinking in a second, but for the the layman's, myself, I just want to explain a bit about what you do. So you find you find really good businesses and you negotiate an exit with the existing owner, you take ownership and you improve that business. If we compare it to properties, our listeners would,
right.
You
Totally.
renovate, you do the kitchen, you do the bathroom, you improve the process, you tune up where things are good, and you increase what we refer to in accounting or financials, EBITDA of the business, and make it more profitable.
Yeah, sure.
So you're building equity. Like when you renovate a property, you build equity.
Yeah.
You're building equity in a business, and that allows you to keep growing the same way you do with investment property. Have I explained that? Okay.
Yeah, totally, man. Like that's straightforward. Buy good businesses and aim to keep them for 30 years.
100%.
That's it.
We're building a portfolio.
Totally. Yeah. And so the principles for buying a good business is also starting at the point where you're not trying to buy a headache in the first place.
Yeah.
Unless if you're really experienced in dealing with headaches.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone who starts out in business probably is in the first instance.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you find something that's good in its own right and doesn't need any changes, then anything that you add incrementally is just bonus.
Yeah. 100%.
What was, talk to me about that shift, because you talked about your first investment property,
right?
And looking at that asset class as a vehicle for wealth, and then the rules changed.
Yeah.
But then you were in this business, as you mentioned, was a juggernaut, and you were doing very well.
Yeah.
Property investment would have been like an easy, if you like, the natural, if you like, pathway for you. But you switch, you change. What happened?
So, yeah, a great question. I took a trip to the United States and just saw the scale of a bigger
All comes
country.
back to the US.
Right. And I remember the day that I needed to leave. It was actually a really funny day. I ordered lunch accidentally to a place that I was staying at. So I was in New York, right? I was about to leave, packed all my stuff up. And that was a side story. It was just a really funny scenario. I was packing up, ready to go, and I ordered some food. And this part of the story actually just is not relevant whatsoever, but it's funny.
Indulgent.
I ordered food to an address that I stayed in Los Angeles accidentally.
Oh my God.
Like I just door dashed it.
Yeah,
I was
that's
sat
a
there
common
waiting.
mistake, right? Yeah.
And I looked, I guess I could spit it in this way, that I looked at the map of the United States and realized how big it truly was.
You think about catching a cab to go pick your food up. And it's
3 days away.
It's so far. Yeah, I've never been hungrier in my life, both like internally and then also entrepreneurially.
Yeah.
But I remember that I remember seeing the Manhattan skyline on flight into New York when we came over from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I was just enamored with the scale of opportunity that existed. And it just dawned on me that on the other side of the world, quite literally almost the opposite side of the world, we are here, a crew of 5 million people. We're just ranked. I was about to be ranked in the top 5 of mortgages in the country.
Yeah.
At 27, 28.
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, shit, I've got more in the tank. Right?
There's more to
like
life.
There's more. Yeah,
Yeah.
do I want to try and chase down number one? Do I want to chase what do I serve? Like I could do more of the same, which don't get me wrong, that's good. And there's so much merit to doing the same thing for 30 years and being the GOAT at one.
See, that's what I'm into.
Thing.
Yeah.
And that is your thing.
That's
and
my,
you will be. 100%.
We'll see.
Right? So I looked at that and I thought, okay, bigger job. What is that?
Yeah.
And I spent a bit of time thinking about it. And in the mortgage role, we talked about buying books or buying more advisory firms and growing through acquisition.
So buying a book refers to buying another advisor's client base.
Yeah, pretty much buying another advisory firm, right? And because I had bought into this business, I'd already done a deal or a part of an acquisition in the first place. So a lot of like the perspective that I had on acquisition was already broken.
Yep.
Right. And to me, it made sense that would be the next thing that I do. Do I want to come up and start something? When I saw like all the pain and effort that it would take to build something, I thought that, well, you can actually, instead if you try buy a business, you're actually, rather than going through the pains of starting and learning all of these lessons, you truncate that and you end up starting at year 10, 20, 30. So not as if you avoid lessons in general, but the whole process of gathering resources, defining a customer base, setting up systems and processes, that's all done. And you start with so much wind in your sails that you can just, anything that you do from that point to improve it is exponentially more additive. 100%. So I came back from America back to New Zealand. And if you ever go from looking at the Manhattan skyline to the Auckland CBD skyline. Right. And so like these ambitions of something greater than just like continuing to operate the factory line of mortgages were just restless inside of me. Yeah. And so, and also there's another element as well, like when you're in business and partnership with other people, especially if you are like the younger of the group, and also I was a minority shareholder as well. Yeah. Naturally, part of my progression was to want to be able to try and do it on my own as well.
Of course.
To self-justify the fact that I actually can too.
Yeah.
And so it was part of the process, and I think like a lot of the emotional aspects to wanting to also make a move from like a group, like from the group that we had built.
Yeah.
And so it just became a no-brainer. Like it was, got to move on. We're going to focus on buying businesses. I'm going to build somewhat of a very small private investment company or a private equity firm, the smallest in the planet, right?
But quality,
right? And quality of life as well, and just to try and match the inner ambitions that I had as well. Yeah. So that was that. It was a no-brainer, and then the day came, and there were catalysts, like moments that led up to it, and then it was time to move on and start on the new journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Like that fire that got lit inside of you, just seeing the magnitude of the globe and what was possible. There was obviously then steps. So obviously this is like the mindset shift that's going on now. You're kind of fizzed up about opportunities. So naturally I assume that you now start opening your eyes a little bit back here in New Zealand. How did you made the leap at some point.
Right.
You found an opportunity. You did something. You did the deal.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that gap between actually leaving to then doing the deal, that was actually the loneliest part of the journey, which was like horrifically hard to go through.
I remember,
because you'd go through like all of a sudden one day I was no longer in the office, no longer surrounded by the team that we had like built. So I was not seeing David, wasn't seeing Madav, wasn't seeing Dan, wasn't seeing my business partners, any of the office staff. And like I'd hired a lot of these people, and we had really gone into battle and like fight. It just, despite it just being mortgages, I think anecdotally in business, when you build such a strong camaraderie with a team, like your work bleeds into like your personal life and friendships.
For sure.
So then to all of a sudden just cut that and then be in like my flat on Upland Road, like walking down to the Benson Road Deli to get a coffee and scratch my head and be like, okay,
somewhat of an identity crisis, eh?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Where am I?
Really. Yeah. And I didn't know where to start. And the first step that I started to take, it was actually from a mentor of mine at the time. He would send letters to business owners. And so what we in New Zealand actually have great access to is a database in the company's office to find where directors and shareholders live in the country. And other parts of the world actually don't have that kind of access to that information.
Yeah,
At
so
some
it makes
point.
sense, right? Like if you have a
totally.
disgruntled customer or supplier or anything.
They cannot come knocking on the door, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the window for that is definitely going to close, 100%. Sometime in the future, people will decide that it's no longer worthwhile to have directors or
that access.
Yeah, or they will set high standards for anyone who wants access to that information, right? And they should. So I started writing these letters to business owners and I had no clue what kind of business I wanted to buy in the first instance. And you might think that being in business, in a finance company, you would learn a lot about business, where you learn about the finance of business. And that's actually one very segmented element of a company in the first place.
Yeah. You know how to read a
balance
sheet and a profit and loss.
Totally.
And that's pretty much it.
Right. And that's it. That's where the line ends.
Yeah.
So I had gone into it thinking that, okay, look, I think I know enough. And then realizing I actually know nothing. Well, limited, right? Yeah. I know how to hire the boys and do mortgages and sell a little bit. That was good, right? That was enough. And I had some kind of a track record. So I had no clue where I was going to start looking for businesses for sale. So what I actually did was I got a copy of the Yellow Pages. And I just started flicking through it and I just started looking at different, I guess, businesses that were in the Yellow Pages. Like you'd find like a listing or you'd find different categories of businesses and I just looked through it.
Yeah.
Because it would at least start tuning me into like Deal FM, right? Like I'd be able to start thinking about, oh, okay, well, that's a business. How does, it just sort of sparked this very curious mind inside of me as to, okay, well, how does that business actually work? What are they literally doing to make money? Yeah. So you can also, when you drive through industrial areas or you're driving through areas where there are like commercial buildings, you can look at these signs and actually just start to be in wonderment as to what these businesses are actually doing, how much money they might be making, if it's something that you think you can grow, if it's something that forms part of like a bigger acquisition opportunity. And I was really trying to expose myself as fast as possible to what the opportunities were. I was also looking on Trade Me and actually since then I have looked at Trade Me since 2019, 2020. I've been on Trade Me every single day without fail, at least once or twice a day, seeing what pops up for business listings as well. And it's so habitual
also
now.
For 2012 Holden Commodores, not just businesses.
Yeah, man. And so I'm trying to, and through doing that, you see all of these really unique businesses that actually exist pop up. And it just gets you thinking. And that's the first thing, is being in proximity to what opportunities actually look like. And that's a lot of what that journey was actually figuring out what is the thing that I'm going to buy.
I think this really makes me feel, when I reflect on myself and the differences between a pure entrepreneur, because as a financial advisor and business owner, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but not really. We're an agency for the bank and we provide high-level service for customers. It's cut and paste. Obviously, there's things in our business that we do that's unique. And the level of advice, I think, is high level, but it's cut and paste. Whereas true entrepreneurship requires not only the guts, but also some creativity. That's what I'm picking up, is the creativity to generate and create opportunities for yourself. We know what we need to do. We need to meet with as many people as possible per week, and sell them on our service and provide a high level service, and it's that, right? But for this, it's across different industries. Obviously, we've got some target industries that would speak about that you've had great success in, but it's looking at every opportunity with a unique lens and being creative and seeing how you can make a deal work while also not just trying to make anything work, right? So that has been such a cool journey to watch you go through. And then, I mean, if we just reflect on those opportunities and those deals you created for yourself, how many have you purchased? Like how many businesses is now under the
What
group?
was one? I want to go to one. We're emailing, handwriting letters actually to company directors, looking through yellow pages, driving around, and looking at businesses, and just like the cogs are turning, and you eventually make a move. Like the first deal happens.
Yeah. Well, like even before then, like in terms of like the driving around and seeking, there's like
doing drive-bys.
Yeah, not even that. Like I remember this one time, I had a couple of mates who moved to Wellington, right? And I was like, I'd actually sent a letter out to a person who had a business where they were importing commodities from Jakarta, and what they were doing, it was sort of like this, these specific kind of coals or wood chips that were used in restaurants to create like a very certain type of flavor. And they had relationships up and down the country with different chefs and different restaurants. And they were just importing into, was it Masterton? I can't remember. It was just some weird warehouse in the middle of nowhere. And I remember I had sent a letter out and this guy responded to me. So first thing, I got on a plane, went to see the boys and crashed with Shane and Adam.
The fellas.
Yeah. And so I went and saw them for the weekend. But then on that Friday, I remember I went down to the city station down in Wellington, caught a train, got on a bus, got to this guy's like factory. And
Out of Masterton.
just to see what was going on.
Nice train trip as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so
this is just a sightseeing. Don't try and mask this as an entrepreneurial sort of pursuit. You're just having enjoying the beauty of New Zealand.
Yeah, totally. And so and I guess it's part of the creative or like where curiosity and creativity kind of splash together, isn't it? Figuring out and just knowing that that's not a task or an action that can scale, but it's part of like a step that you would take in order to try and figure it out. I remember sitting down in front of these three people who owned the business, and it was like, I just had no clue what I was doing. I just wanted to meet them to try and figure out more about their business and at least have a conversation to see how that went. Because up until doing the first deal, there was just so many failed attempts at even like finding a business where the owner wanted to talk to me, or finding a business where it was actually feasible to like as an acquisition opportunity in the first place. And so it was kind of nudging against all of these paths that would never go forwards, but along each of those attempts, I'd figure out something that would give me a lesson so I didn't make a mistake, or it would help me filter better in the future. Yep. So yeah, in terms of the journey, you just end up going to all these like weird places. That's one example, to just see what was going on for the sake of it, and use it as a learning experience. And then I ended up doing one deal. So if I think about the industries I've been involved in, obviously finance, right? That was the first one. Then construction, which really I'll talk to you about that. That didn't really go out so well. And then hire equipment, and then now food production. So with the construction business, we ended up finding this guy who had tried to sell his business, and he was making like awnings and pergolas. And it just like, he had a website that was still getting traffic, but he had stopped operating it. He couldn't sell the business. And it was just very much like on death's door. Like it had no staff, it had no, like no one who could actually operate. And he was of retirement age, right? And so he didn't want it, right? So it's practically just a website that like just worked, and it was just getting traffic. Someone needed to go and knock these pergolas together. And so I knew a guy who operated in construction as well, and we tried to do something together where I would acquire the business and that he would be able to operate it and like do the construction piece. And I can focus on all front end stuff, like setting up the sales process, setting up the quoting process, then handing off all the work to be completed. And then real quick, I realized that some businesses are just really dead ducks. right?
Yeah.
Like it was just really hard to resuscitate. It was practically going through the process of starting something again from scratch.
Yeah.
And so that one really didn't
You had
work
it in the
out.
ICU.
So we'd done it.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
The defibrillator wasn't.
Yeah,
sort of
totally.
working.
Yeah. And that was good because that was a no money down deal. What we were going to be doing was paying out like a set number that we'd agreed on that we would give to the owner as payment for the business. And it was
if it was successful.
Yeah, and it was done on completed work
Yeah.
as well, so that we could maintain margin in the business.
Nice.
And we could buy, obviously, the kit to be able to knock together the pergolas.
So that's another great point. You created an opportunity where you actually didn't have to make a capital investment.
Yeah.
But it made sense for the owner to take that on.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because there was no better alternative for that business to be sold.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's a really good place to like put a marker down and just say that I know that there's a huge amount of content that exists around buying businesses with no money down.
Yeah.
There are a couple key important pieces to that.
Yeah.
If you want to do something that's truly no money down whatsoever, you run the risk of it just being terrible and like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because you do have to think, why wouldn't someone be able to find a buyer for
Yeah.
their business? Don't get me wrong, I've been in front of opportunities which would have been absolute stunners, right? And they required little to no money down, but for some reason or another, they couldn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
You can buy businesses using other people's money. So raising capital either as debt or equity investment and having that as the injection that you need to do an acquisition. I think that's a far more realistic and sensible way to do deals.
Yeah.
Primarily because you can then take your pick of the good stuff rather than being subject to the scraps.
Because good businesses, there's a market for them.
Yeah.
There's a market for them. It is much smaller than obviously comparatively like things like property,
Yes.
residential and commercial, but there is a market for them. So good businesses will get snapped up.
Seen it happen.
Yeah.
And I've lost out in moments when it's getting competitive.
Yeah.
There are a couple which I really did like. One that fitted well into like our rental equipment space that we missed out on. And there was another one recently, which is an absolute winner, but the owner really, it was just at a valuation I wasn't willing to pay.
Yeah.
It was a couple of trampoline parks, actually.
No way.
Yeah. And I really liked it because they made good money in winter.
Yeah.
So
The
that's
actual property or just the lease?
business.
Yeah.
So it was a lease, big risk in the business because obviously if you can't extend it, then you've got to go and
buggered.
fit out an entire trampoline park.
Yeah.
And you have to get consent to be able to have people coming in to park, like a lot of people coming in to park. And So it's, it's that one, that was this year. I really would have liked that one, but it was just far more than what we're willing to pay. And someone else wanted to pay it. So all good.
No, awesome.
In terms of investment capital, people are looking to float debt or put money in for a stake. What's the market like out there? Is there some deep pockets and individuals that are like really pumped and ready to lay down some cash?
Great question.
Yeah, there is. And we are I believe that we're on the precipice of realizing that that is a genuine opportunity for a lot of people who are highly capable operators in business to be able to find people who are maybe 10 or 15 years ahead of them who either are successful in what they do for work in the first instance, have a lot of property, but are actually realizing the limitations of cash flow from real estate investments, or successful entrepreneurs themselves or business owners who have actually taken an exit and know what it takes to go from start to finish and don't want to run that race ever again. And they'd rather find the younger version of themselves and choose that person to back over going back for another round. Yeah. So, I think that those people there kind of get it. There's a small community, but yeah, you're right. There's money for it. And I think we're at the point now in New Zealand where and other parts of the world, Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom, everywhere, we're at this point where there are these great businesses that do have to transition. What is true from having spoken to a lot of these owners and attempting to buy their businesses or being interested in it is they have children or younger members of their family who they always intended to run the business. Yeah. And they're just saying, nah, I'm not keen. Like I saw, you're never there for me, Dad. Right. you kind of, I've heard all the yarns already. I don't really want to go and like recreate all these stories that sound boring. I'd rather keep getting the check from you and going to Bali or like I kind of, yeah, totally. Like they've got other agendas, right? And they're not necessarily a product of, they're not an entrepreneur at heart or even an operator at heart. So
they just don't have it.
Yeah.
And maybe because of the fruits of the older generation, eh? Just before you carry on, really interesting thought is that scenario, but the other way around. So, not that the parents want to hand over the business to the younger generation or the kids, but that's that parent. Many of them have salary sacrificed into their business, taken less wages into their business for a payoff at a later date. It wouldn't make sense for them to pass it on to the kids because that's their nest egg.
Right.
They need a sale to another private, or they need to switch over to another private that's more lucrative because that's their retirement's tied up in the business. So handing it on to the kids just doesn't make sense. Because obviously the kids will expect mates rates,
of course,
which is not going to happen because
ride.
You've busted your ass for 20, 30 years to build this great business. So that's another reason why they would look to private money rather than hand the business down to the next generation, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When faced with the sale of their business, some owners look at the total sum that they get, and based on the way that you value a business, they typically would consider that to not make sense sometimes.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is you might sell a business, let's say that it's owner operated, the owner works in it, and they're making 250 in earnings, right? So that's what they're taking home, right? Or the total benefit package that they get for themselves. If it's 250 and they're working in it, it's really, despite what brokers say or how anyone else sees it, the reality is it shouldn't be really going for more than 500. Right, like a 2 times the total earnings, it shouldn't.
So for the folks at home, businesses are usually valued at a multiple of the EBITDA
or the earnings.
The earnings.
There's some profit, there's some cash flow metric that is used, and that you multiply that by a particular number. So it could be anywhere from 1 or less than 1 to 3, 4, 5 more. But there are different, as you go through the thresholds, there are different reasons as to why you would be valued lower or higher. So we use this example, 250,000 to a business owner is a great wicket. 250,000 to anyone is an amazing wicket.
Sure, you're in the top 1%.
Yes.
Probably in the, like smaller portion of the 1%. It's a great earning.
Exactly. So if you're earning 250,000 in income from a business that you run, and you can only get up to 2 times the value of that on exit. Sure, you fast forward all of your earnings into that moment, right? But
no capital gains tax at the moment.
No capital gains tax on the sale of a business as well. So what are you going to do with that money? Right? If you sell that business for $500,000 and it's giving you $250,000 a year, what are you going to do with it?
Buy another business? Or
it just doesn't seem like a great exit, does it?
Yeah.
You're kind of like...
So how do you engineer a great exit if you're that size?
True.
So yeah, that's, and I don't want it to be sort of leave any of the listeners being like, oh, all businesses are valued that way. So you can value a business to be worth more if it's got a greater size of earnings. That's one of the metrics. So when you start to get plus 300,000 to 400,000 or $500,000, that 2 multiple can move somewhere closer to 3.5. And then it's on the upper end of that if there's some level of management in place where the owner isn't the face at the coalface doing everything. They're not wearing every single hat, etc.
Like that's gold for investors, right? Because
100%.
if you're buying an asset that's income producing and is not going to take much of your time, it's already got it's plug and play.
Right.
Now you can actually increase the multiple.
you have time to be able to focus on other things like business development.
Yeah.
You're not opening the shop, you're not closing the shop, you're not serving customers, you're not also filing tax returns.
You're not taking the bins out. You're
No.
not. Yeah.
So you've got some sort of infrastructure that gives you separation from doing the thing to be able to think strategically about the thing that you are doing so that you can focus on growth.
Yeah.
And so that sort of starts to happen from that 300 plus size.
Yeah.
And then when you're working with $800,000 upwards, you're now in the realm of somewhere from, it could be anywhere from 3, 4, sometimes 5, depending on the industry as well.
Yeah.
So it's on the lower scale of businesses which provide excellent income for people, the exit or the value that people get from the exit isn't life-changing.
Yeah.
It should be a life-changing amount, but based on the income that they're getting, what can they do with that?
That's right. Yeah.
So the conundrum of passing the business on or looping in your child to be able to run it, but somehow you get like a retainer on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you start working in the dark magic of like family business arrangements that kind of might not turn out well.
Exactly. Yeah. And touching on that, I mean, the biggest point that you've made is that there's so many businesses in New Zealand that have, 1 to 5 operators, family business, that, over the years, we haven't been able to build proper processes to remove the owners. Maybe that's the owner's choice because they want to keep more of the revenue and they don't want to grow that way. But there's these businesses that will be looking for sale, but it's actually just a job.
Yes.
It's actually just a job. It's a job where you get to control your hours and, but there is no structure and process in place that makes it a scalable business. Like the purchaser would have to scale it themselves, So that's another thing I think that you've done really well is looking at some of these businesses that are maybe set up like that and built the processes, built the systems around that to remove yourself from that business. And then you've just got this. Obviously, it's never that easy, but you've just got this nice income, right, that you can add to the portfolio.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the key issue in that is that people are really reluctant to find belief that there are other people who can do the thing that they can do, especially in business.
Yeah.
Could you imagine operating a business in a way where you believe that you are the only person who can do the job that you are doing? Could you?
I mean, confidence is a really big part of our business. So
everybody's replaceable. Everybody is replaceable, right?
Yeah. So I think you want to realize, I think what you're saying is right. Like no one is, everybody is replaceable, right? Maybe not to the same level, but people can do the stuff that you do. That goes for business owners as well. Yep. Unless if you were Leonardo da Vinci and you were making the Mona Lisa, and that is your thing. It is all you. It is all about you.
Or if you're Taylor Swift, right? That's a perfect example.
Yeah,
she's needed.
Yeah,
until we get the AI Taylor Swift bot.
Right.
She's needed for the gigs every weekend.
Totally. I'm more of a Sabrina Carpenter, to be completely honest.
You would be,
and the album's out today, so.
You're giving a free promo.
Why wouldn't you?
A pool of listeners.
Yeah, right. So I think it's an element of not wanting to let go. And I've sat opposite plenty of business owners who are in the thick of it, who've maybe tested the water, run up against a problem, which is normally a training or recruitment problem as well, and never really back themselves to understand that if you give it one shot and that you don't hire someone that's going to work out to do the gig that you need to do it, and they cause you issues, it is kind of your fault.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're a participant in that reality. So you should think about what you've done, probably do things a little bit differently, or at least learn your lessons, and then make an attempt.
Yeah.
That's all, and make a second attempt, make a third attempt to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
So if it's a hard job, if you solve it, you will bear the fruits of the solution.
That's right.
So I think that's really what holds a lot of business owners back, is that they will get to this point where, it's not to say anything that there's anything wrong with being an owner operator, being self-employed, or having a business that is a job.
It's awesome.
It is, because there's an element of sovereignty that comes with that.
Of course, yeah. Right? And some people, they want that. And they're not thinking about an exit and a big capital gain on their sale.
What I say to people like that, though, is that if you're that ambitious to have that kind of level of sovereignty over yourself, you have so much more inside of you to be able to take it one step further.
You've already taken the step. You're halfway there.
Yes. The second step is just basic momentum.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the next step of character development, because if you're saying things like, oh, I can't make enough money in this business, I don't know how, like the numbers just aren't working.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You've got a new problem to solve.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
it.
Yeah.
That's what's in the way from a lot of owners getting to that point where perhaps they're a bit more distant. But if you want a shortcut to that, I'm not saying that it's easy, you could just do another acquisition.
Yeah.
You can buy a competitor. You can buy a business that's similar enough to the one that you operate within, collect the revenue. You practically grow the size of a business overnight.
Yeah.
So if you were to double your revenue or increase your revenue significantly, the same would happen to your profitability. And if it's just a numbers issue, then you've got all of the financial resources to be able to start hiring staff and re-engineering the operation of a business so that you've got the machine working.
It's there. Yeah.
It's there.
Because I do want to talk about something amazing that I was talking to Rory about this week that you've done in a section of your hire businesses, right? So you run these hire businesses and you've brought in a equity partner. And by doing that, them taking on the load, that operational load of this massive pool of businesses, you've been able to remove yourself from the day-to-day of running that business. So the business has been built. It's earning an income, and you're able to continue working on the portfolio, growing other businesses while that's just sort of ticking over the side, which is something that, I mean, most business owners, that is that sovereignty that we're talking about, right? If we're talking about wealth creation, why are people so drawn to property investment? Everyone uses that word passive income, you know? I mean, it's incredibly not passive when you're making it, but we're all working towards that day where maybe we could make a little nest egg or empire for our family where there's a passive element to that income, you know, and it's an achievable goal, and we know many people who've done it. And so you've done that through the businesses, which I think is just such a feat. And is that something that you're trying to continue to extrapolate and keep doing that, or you want to be more involved in certain businesses? Like what is the goal?
It's a great question, and it's off of the back of hitting the constraint of I'm still just one person.
Yeah, just a bloke.
So it's another constraint, right? And think about the journey. Went through 5 years of figuring out what the strategy was going to be, right, in terms of developing and creating wealth. Then went through the team-orientated stage, which is obviously finance and doing that as a team, right? Then go through another 5 years of like this solo slog, being the one person who's responsible, who's the decision maker.
No teammates.
No teammates to a degree, but like the one person.
That's your staff, right?
Right. It's still a solo battle. And then I just hit the point where I realized, okay, if we want to move forward, I'm going to need some help. Yeah. Right? 100%. I just thought it's getting to the point where...
Jackie, get the bleeper out there.
Yeah, please. The F-bombs are coming in hot now. But I just thought to myself, like, the journey is going to be so much more fun if I get to curate the team that I get to do this with now.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the best part about the journey now, which made me incredibly excited to bring Regan on board to help out.
Oh, he's a great partner. And we're sort of talking about that initial experience we had in business with the original refi company, recreating that sort of atmosphere of people who are growth focused, good values, family values, and just want to build great businesses that provide great services and products. Is how it's all about. You can't do it by yourself. And
and the good thing about having gone through a business relationship previously was that you learn all of the lessons of that and all the shortcomings of that and all the lessons in what worked well, what might not have worked well, understanding personalities. Then going into like a solo stage where it's, okay, you start learning, I needed help with this. I needed help with that. This could have been a lot easier if I had someone who was really good at this. So then bring into like a new partnership where I have a minority shareholder in the fund or in the private investment company now. it has allowed me to, again, cherry pick who I think is the best person and the best match for me, which is obviously my best mate.
Yeah.
Right. And we complement each other really well in the way that we operate and mutual respect for each other.
100%.
So that.
And similar goals.
Right. And it actually has created an environment where we've been able to build where each person thrives in. Myself, front end, deal orientated, vision, content, building relationships. That's my focus.
Yeah.
Regan, operationally driven, pursuing perfection to the absolute ends of the world, world, right? And for anyone who kind of reaches that point of where they are stretched too thin, they need that person, especially if they're front end orientated. There can be people who are back end orientated in business who then need that, the front person as well. But I think it's a lot easier to find that person who kind of wants the operational responsibilities ahead of
especially if he's an engineer, right?
Totally. Yeah, he's an engineer who gets it.
Do you see any opportunities, I suppose, with maybe a growing number of Kiwis moving into that retirement realm and very much operating that owner-operated style business, that 250K type model that you're talking about, that just they're going to be kind of cheap deals for what they are. And then businesses like that can be then turned into what you're doing as rather than the owner operator, just the owner, do you see any big cash cows out there that you just like?
Are you telling me to snitch on an industry?
What's the most lucrative industries that our customers should look to buy businesses in?
Right.
Let's just be candid.
Yeah, totally.
We're trying to get everybody wealthy. What's
the best thing you can do is just start looking on Trade Me, right? And seeing what's actually for sale so that you can see volume of transactions, right? Online, you see all the, let's get a laundromat, let's get a vending machine business, which is very, we'll let the machines do it.
It's very property investment. It's property investment, right?
Car wash, it's another good one. The gas station. No one really talking about doing deals on dairies though, which is a little bit of a shame. But if you take a look at what's actually listed for sale, you'll start to see where transaction volume is. So you really have to put your eyes on it and say, okay, to your question, where could I string two of these together? If you want to try and build an owner perspective, you're going to do it one of two ways. You're going to buy the thing, then grow it, or you're going to buy one thing where you know that you're going to be able to pair it with another thing, and you're going to have some kind of management in place to run it.
Yes.
That is probably a 3-year process.
Yeah.
And it's a fun 3 years, and you'll learn a lot, and you'll make great money doing it. And you'll be able to re-engineer the kind of sovereignty that you want a lot sooner than taking the pathway of real estate. Because if you're going to do it, you might, you can get into the throes of flipping property and trading property, which I would argue is actually a business. It's not property investment. That's a property business. You're buying a product, you are doing something to the product, then you are selling the product. That's it.
Can we talk about, this is tying into that.
Yeah, go on.
And I think it's something that we would discuss at the start, you would have mentioned. We've been covering it in this chat, but buying business versus starting one?
Right.
Like what is the philosophy? What is the philosophy on that? Like why are we not starting from scratch rather than getting an existing one?
My belief is that people want to start a business for a couple of reasons. One, they either don't want to buy one, so it's the money and like spending the money to buy something.
They want to bootstrap it.
Bootstrap
refers to starting a business, growing it with your own capital.
Your own capital, your own time, figuring out all
sweat
the
equity
lessons, right? So people can think that that is the better way to do it, which in some instances it will be. Like if you're highly talented in one particular area, then you definitely should be, and you are one of one, or you can become one of one doing something that you're very skilled and passionate about, then by all means, that is what you should be doing. But the fallacy that I think people fall into is thinking that that is the easier route or the better route, where I would disagree. I would say that you're far better off to have bought something that has all of the momentum, and business is a resource-orientated game. So if you buy a business, it's a collection of resources. It's a collection of systems. It's a collection of customers. It's a collection of products or services and everything that is known to currently work and that there is evidence that that works. So when you buy that, you have a running start. So That's where you can figure things out, you can improve things, you can learn more about business, and you can figure out how to grow it. If you think about starting a business, you run into all of these issues, just like talking about the mortgage volume as well, right? You have a lower volume of work, so you can't yet figure out all the problems that you're going to run into in the future.
Yeah.
And I think you end up getting business fatigue in the starting process as well.
Because that's all your sweat is going into it.
It is.
Which you could replace with capital by buying one.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And so people would say that capital, that it's the capital that they don't want to forgo, that it's expensive to buy one. But when you think about it, if it took 3 or 4 years for you to get that capital back after tax of the earnings in the business that you would buy, compared to 10 or 15 years of figuring it out, I would say that time is so much more expensive than the money that you could lose if you were to make a bad decision.
Hair loss. A lot of hair loss as well.
And you're not actually paying a premium for that, because you're actually like the multiples that we're talking about is like a multiple of the EBITDA or whatever it is, or the director's revenue.
Right.
That all that blood, sweat, and tears isn't even priced.
Yeah.
It's a hack.
Yeah. I think it all comes back to this concept, obviously, why we're here at Blueprint Finance and how you started out is debt. The lifeblood of this game we're playing called capitalism, that we're all in, regardless of if we love it or hate it. That is the true lever for wealth creation, which is why it's called leverage, referred to as leverage. So obviously, property owners use it. All of our customers use it. I use it. You use it. Everyone loves it. But it's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It's fire. It can cook food. It can create incredible things, right? It can mold glass, but it can also burn your house down if it's not used properly. So there is these ideas. Obviously, I'm always referring to Dave Ramsey on this podcast. You know Dave Ramsey,
I know
American
him.
financial educator.
Right.
He hates debt. He thinks you shouldn't borrow more than 25% of your household income. And you should, if you're borrowing money on a home mortgage, you should have it on a 15-year loan term. And that's the maximum you should borrow, which in New Zealand would just not be possible. Everyone would just be living in apartments or leasehold apartments or something like that, right? But debt is such an important thing because it allows us to jump forward into time. But with that time travel, it requires a lot of thought out, processing and planning and financial planning about where you're going to end up, right? I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to take on a 30-year mortgage, but in 30 years' time, or if I can pay it quicker, that's great. My house is going to be paid off. I'm never going to have a rent expense and I can retire, right? That's the goal for most of our customers. But when we talk about investing, a property investment, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to have it on interest-only debt, and I'm going to expect to have gains in 20 to 30 years from the capital growth and inflation devaluing my debt. When we talk about the pairing in business, we're going to use this capital to buy the resources, buy the income, and how can we make a return on that? Obviously, debt in the debt market, debt for business purchase is priced more expensive than for property. Why is that?
Because it's inherently risky.
Yeah.
It's risk priced.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
When you think about, and it's based on liquidity, because the liquidity of real estate exists because there are people who understand that that is a market and the banks are incentivized to lend against residential real estate.
Yeah.
So you can always cycle out bad investments and it's easy for them to capitalize on an actual deal gone bad. We're with businesses and we're in a period right now where we've had record levels of liquidations, right? So when those businesses go bad and they're holding bags of debt, it's very difficult for anyone to get anything out of it because there's debt to this person, there are customers or suppliers who are owed money here, there are the staff and employees, the inland revenue or the tax departments from particular companies or countries are normally involved. And then you also have the liquidators who get paid first.
Yeah.
So you have this very interesting car crash that happens when a business goes down.
Yeah.
And
It's a junction car crash.
right,
So,
and it's holding the bag, right? It's holding everyone's bag. That is an accident that happens on a main highway in front of everybody. But with real estate, you can just cycle it out because there always is a buyer for that.
Yeah.
Not normally the case for business. So those deals, when you end up being able to access finance for businesses, you typically have a good business in front of you.
Yeah.
Because you are putting it in the face of someone who doesn't know anything about business for the most part, like the bankers who you would deal with on entry-level acquisitions or maybe mid-size acquisitions. They don't know everything about business, but they just understand the key metrics that they're looking for to when the bank would be interested in lending you money. So they have a very watered down view of it. And if those work, then typically the debt in the deal is okay.
Yeah.
That can't be said for every deal or every bank loan that gets issued for a business, but it's priced differently with that risk involved. But then what I've realized is really interesting with banks and debt for businesses is that they start to be able to offer you different products based on the comfort level that your business and you as a person and how you operate, the comfort level that provides the banks. So you can end up doing, and I've had conversations with bankers where they end up rolling business debt into similar products that are just like mortgages, except they're just not secured by any property.
Yeah.
So you can work it into interest-only lending. You can work it into 30-year style products or 15-year style products based on the fact that your business has always cash flowed consistently. You've always been able to operate in time. There's no defaults or late payments to any tax departments, and you've got some kind of established relationship with the bank, and they know you to be a good operator. So the way that debt operates at the business level can be just like a mortgage.
Yeah.
It's earned though. It's
Yes.
not given initially.
Yeah.
So I agree that people really shouldn't be borrowing and leveraging businesses aggressively.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I don't believe that anyone's first deal should be 100% financed and borrowed from this person and that person, because I've been in positions where I've financed a lot of debt to buy businesses, but I've always been cash flow heavy and still not redlining, but getting to the point where, you know, you're operating within an element where you feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and that's very different to real estate because, you know, you have if you're owning real estate and you're an investor, you typically have the luxuries of having a job. So you know that you're going to be getting income every week, a set amount in the bank account, and you can split the money however you need to put out fires with debt or unforeseen expenses, etc.
Yeah.
When it's business, and if you're holding debt, if you run it too close to the line, you'll get in trouble very quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a level of experience and operational understanding of cash flow that you need to be able to operate a business under debt. And I just don't think that people can do that off the bat with not much experience.
Yeah, 100%. You hear stories. I've got a friend who he recently sold his business for quite a good take. And he came off the back of a failed venture and he started it on credit cards.
How about it?
Just got a couple of credit cards and just, you know, so
Do what you got to do, eh?
yeah, that's not what
And collect air points on the way.
It's not a crypto business.
Air points.
The
And he
rewards.
went to Thailand. What you said was great. I'm just saying the risk is a spectrum, and you can do this business thing, you can do this property thing, this life thing with really calculated risk. It's pretty much mathematically certain that you will be successful, you know, as an entrepreneur or as an employee. You can set it up that way with the help of insurance, not to plug this, but like you can literally set up your life. So I'm going to have the wealth that I want to hand down to my next generation or for myself for retirement. You can set it up that way. And things, you know, would have to go horribly wrong for it not to work out, but you can manufacture that life for yourself through business, through safe debt structures and calculated risks. You know, so I think that's what you're saying. There's a full spectrum to it. I don't think you would recommend people to do it exactly the way you did it, because I feel like it takes a lot of more personal backing and just faith in yourself that someone else can't tell you to do it. You have to go and do it, right?
Yeah, it's really sort of being drawn into the fire.
Yeah.
Right.
The
and
fog,
it's just,
the unknown.
It's hard to explain it in a way where everybody can understand it. being willing to know that while the next few steps might not necessarily be certain, that they are worth walking because of all the lessons that you'll learn. And typically the fruits of labor on the other side are very difficult things to do and very hard things to accomplish. So, and the same goes with business. And you're right on your point to like structuring everything correctly and safely. What tips most businesses over is lack of cash flow and lack of capital in the bank.
They take too much money out.
If you take too much money out, if you do not have stored, just like your business is a thing. It's its own living, breathing entity. And if you decide to rob it of all of its money and don't pay the people who need to be paid to keep that thing alive, it will not be alive. It will cease to exist.
So impatience and greed, right?
Impatience and greed, and then no focus on growth. So the growth that we've been able to focus on has always been acquisitionally driven. Like I said before, if we buy a business, we grow by the size of a business. So that's what fuels the top part of the funnel, which means we can keep more at the end of the day and operate from a baseline of comfort. So you need to be focusing on growth. You need to keep cash flow. You need money in the bank. And you just don't want to be frivolous once you get on the board. The way a lot of people will see it is they'll think that buying the business or getting the deal is the big job. And I'll see that as this huge obstacle. Like that's the thing that they have to do. But really, that's just the first step. And then it's a lifetime of more steps like that after you have bought that business. So that's kind of that's something that I really hope that people leave with, is not just thinking that it's as simple as just buying a business. You want to buy a business and then have a plan as to what that enables you to do, what a growth plan is if you're going to buy one more, and what that business actually means for you and why you're actually buying it.
You've spoken about like different mentors that you've had, and then you've obviously just like learned a lot through the journey. There's probably only so much you can learn before you dive in the water. Would that be right? Like you're never going to solve the problems because you're actually not going to know the problems that you'll run into until they arrive on your doorstep.
Definitely. So you kind of get your list and your textbooks and your tools and everything and a backpack, and then you kind of head out.
First day of school.
Yeah. And so you have to learn it through the fire, which is the best part of the journey.
For sure, right? That's the difference between like going to a job interview, getting offered the job, and then just knowing that if I just go to that place every day, I get paid. It's wild, right?
There's nothing more satisfying than coming home, sitting down, drinking, a cup of water, and then thinking back on the day and being like, well, I really that up. Like there's nothing more satisfying than like...
It's probably not a cup of water you're drinking.
And so you learn so much from people. I've found it particularly difficult to find people in New Zealand that I would consider and gravitate towards as a mentor in this space, because it's nothing that we've really covered in detail. But I think part of the origin story, which is really important, is this one moment where I'd sat, it was during COVID, so it was during the lockdown.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
after you've started your business journey.
After trying to figure out what we're going to buy. Right. So I've started trying to figure out what kind of deal I'm going to do. I've done some duds, right? Nothing's working. You guys having a great time rebranding to MHQ. I'm no longer part of the...
loans are flying around like it's...
Everybody's getting wealthy.
Exactly. I'm thinking I've really made a mistake. I had this conversation with a great friend of mine. And he, on the phone, I told him I was just running into all these walls. And I just didn't know what was next. And he said to me, it was so genius because how simple it was. He said, well, you're trying to buy businesses. And that's what Graham Hart did. Why don't you just figure out what he did? And why don't you just Google it and do a bit of research? Maybe there's something there.
So Graham Hart is one of our great entrepreneurs.
One of the wealthiest
people in New Zealand. He's known for Whitcool's.
Whitcool's, for something different. And Graham Hart's journey, I think, is one that definitely needs a little more light on it. And I think that people obviously had known him to have been the richest person in New Zealand for so long. But I think that the deal journey of his is something that a lot of Kiwis could probably really benefit from understanding how you can go from towing vehicles and working like in a, like if it was like a mechanic shop or whatever, to then being one of the richest people.
Being the guy.
And the guy from here. hopefully one day more of that journey comes out in like a colloquial environment where it's willing to be talked about.
We'll have to do the documentary.
Well, look,
yeah.
So, but Graham Hart, he wrote his thesis in the 1980s about a roll up, which is a strategy of buying several businesses that are in a similar industry, and it was of the rental equipment space. So it was just 70 pages of just really straightforward, no fluff, every word purposeful, a detailed plan of how he put together a series of transactions to build a holding company of rental equipment businesses. And I took one read of that 72-page document. I said, that's the Bible. I'm sure there's some of these for sale right now, and I'm going to go buy some for myself. Yeah. And that's what sparked the journey into the hire industry.
Incredible.
So the clues are out there. They've been there for decades, and people would just need to look and then take action. Yeah. So no real mentors had kind of existed in New Zealand except for at least this like tale of like an acquisition trail that happened
an idea
30 years.
Yeah.
And then
proof
and evidence. And so that's what sparked that journey. And obviously he's not been able to sit down and have a cup of coffee or jump on his podcast and talk to him about it, which obviously I'd love.
One day, yeah.
But it's that's that kind of mentorship representation here. And then along the journey, that's the great thing about business is you just meet all these phenomenal people who see the world so similarly to you and also different to you, who add tremendous value in your life, who you kind of pick up along the way, and they just become absolute champions for you, your mission, your cause, and then fill that mentorship role in some way or another.
I mean, that Graham Hart story about finding his Bible is such a great lesson, and it's you called it simple, and it's really common, where pick people that you like that have done the thing that you want to do and just copy them. Do what they did, whether it's fitness or whether it's acting or whether it's business, like it doesn't matter. There's great examples in the world of people who have done the thing that you want to do.
100%.
And it doesn't need to be more difficult than that. Yeah. And do a bit of DIY, do your own research.
Roll the sleeves up, get in the truck. So go after it.
Yeah.
And I think that there are repeatable steps to it. So it'd be interesting. I've got a question for you, Dan.
Ooh, okay. He's flipping on you.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, Dan. I'd be interested in your take on this. If we had a younger brother, and let's say he's early 20s, right, and he's looking at you and me, and he's like, I can't be like these two jokers, because I'm me and I'm different.
Not at all saying that we're the vision of success, but he's trying to. He wants to work towards the.
What are you going to be recommending for him to do? If you had to give him some kind of advice, and he's like, "All right, I just finished, or I'm thinking about uni, or I've just finished uni. What should I be doing?"
Well, he's already got a massive advantage, and it's not because we're his older brothers, but it's because of his parents.
Right.
He's got these incredible parents who are supportive and encouraging. And
this is a sweet thing to say.
No, it's 100% true. That's the reason that we're here. We had a massive leg up, and it's not anything financial. It's from the foundations of our family and the teachings from our parents and the guidance and support. So he's got that, but then he's going to need some a bit of grit is what we call it. It's the main value of Blueprint Finance is grit. Doing the work that no one wants to do, working at Countdown, doing the late shifts, taking the late night meetings, driving out 8 o'clock to meet a client, all that stuff that is just, it's not like a skill. It's just a characteristic. So he needs that. And then he needs to figure out what he's pushing for. So you and I always talk about, you told me about the 30-year goal, right? Yes, we've got these short-term achievements we're trying to achieve in our lives and our business, but what's the 30-year vision? So we need to do that roadmap for him. So we'll sit down with him, get the felt tips out. We'll do a bit of a sketch.
So we're saying he can write.
He's literate. We'll give him that. He's literate. He can read and write. Let's say he's got no university degree, right? He's just got the grit, right? So he's got the grit now. He's got the 30-year vision. He's drawn wife. He's drawn kids, or maybe it's a man and some
could be.
kids. We'd support that 100%. Anything. He wants a family and he wants just a great life. He wants to be wealthy, right? He wants to have money in the bank. Let's work towards that. So he's got the grit, he's got the vision, and thrifty.
Thrifty.
He needs to be thrifty.
Okay.
He needs to be thrifty with his money and other people's money.
Okay.
And that's how you get ahead. You get that compound growth on every little single thing that you can. You save money where you can. You're not to an extremist, but you're always conscious of your resource, reserving it and saving for later, right? I had lunch with a good friend of ours who's a very, very successful entrepreneur, 10 mil plus in business equity. Took me out for lunch. Got to the checkout, and then the thing pops up. Here's your bill, $70 or whatever, pay wave surcharge. And he's holding the debit card in his hand. And he looks at it, and he doesn't do the pay wave, he plugs it in
Right.
to avoid the surcharge. And this guy is worth $10 million.
Yeah.
You don't give it away. You don't give nothing away.
He's
for
not
free.
too good for the surcharge. He's plugging in.
You want the surcharge? Come get it.
Yeah, that is that 1% that
Right.
this guy has to have to be successful.
Yeah.
He's plugging in. He's not doing the pay wave. He's plugging in, and he's saving that money, even though he's so wealthy already. And that's because that's how he got there.
Right.
It's just always having that thrift, that grit, and that vision, and then it all compounded to this point where he's at now.
And I'd say that compounds even further because you know how hard it was to get it in the first instance, and never forgetting that. And that's right. There are elements between you and I which are really aligned with everything that you've said. There's stuff that I think's front end as well that I'd be giving advice to, or like a direction that I think they really should go. Number one is find something sales orientated.
Yeah.
That is it. Like if you're going to do anything early on, it has to be not like an operational or functional element of business. It has to be front end. That's where
Your
you're
potential's uncapped.
you're going to unlock your charisma, your ability to speak to people, your ability to be confident, your ability to go into situations that you're not necessarily aware whether or not you either belong or can be successful, and you walk away with lessons. It gets you ready for rejection. If you can sell one thing, you can sell anything. And that's the first thing. It has to be built around something like
100%.
that. So it's either going to be mortgages, insurance, real estate, cars, something like that, which is
Solar panels.
whatever. And a bonus is being able to do that in a small business environment. So you're not going to go and do that at like Big Four. You're not going to go and do that at anywhere where the company is bigger than 30 people. You want to be as close to the coalface with a business.
You're in the financials.
You're right there. You're next to the decision makers. You see the inner workings of business owners' minds, and you learn by proxy all of the lessons that they're learning without taking any of the risk, so that when his time or anyone else's time would come, they've already pre-packed a lot of those lessons, and they've got the ability to be a go-getter as well.
100%.
So that's the 100% the direction that I'd say that anyone in that position should go.
Did we miss anything, Rory? What would you go?
Well, no. I'm just wondering, what do you think about university? Because you can go straight into a sales role, pretty raw dog.
Yeah.
Like skip the trade, skip the university. Or do you think there's something that needs to be learned there first?
I say skip it.
Skip it.
I would. I think university or learning needs to be far more intentional than just being the next thing that you do out of university, just out of high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's intentionality behind
medical, law, must-haves.
100. So if you have a intention to work in a certain career that you need accreditation for, if you need a degree for, right. But I think if it's coming in there just to do it, you will end up burning 3 years. And don't get me wrong, there's value to being on the terps. There's value to meeting new people.
Yeah.
There's value to going to, unless if you're going to uni out of town, I think that's relatively valuable.
You'd learn a lot in that process, right?
You would. What I've noticed is a lot of entrepreneurs can self-regulate environments that they don't want to be in. So they would look at, okay, well, if I go to university here, am I going to get sucked into like drinking? Am I going to get sucked into partying, drugs, whatever? Like, is that what I want to be a part of? I wouldn't want to discredit anyone who is at university or who has gone to university or aspires to go to university, but there has to be some purpose to it. If it's just by proxy of having finished high school and everyone else is going there, you are being herded, right? Whether or not you understand that or not, you are just being pushed in that direction.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have spoken to me and are aware that I've been buying businesses, they have the assumption that they need a finance degree or an accounting degree to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Where I would say that is probably one of the most underutilized elements of business ownership and acquisition.
Is your degree.
I haven't sat there and be like, like accounting has been the reason why I can buy these businesses.
Yeah.
Finance and understanding finance is why I can do this. If you can add and subtract and multiply and divide and know the order of operations, which is just basic bed mass, and you can apply a business and how it functions to bed mass, you can run a business.
So just focus on your bed mass and your suite.
Bed mass in your suite. So, and there's obviously the application of actual what is going on in business. But for the most part, that's like 80% of the work with numbers. The rest of it, you will only learn on the job. There is no way that anything in university will prepare you for business ownership. Maybe marketing, maybe connections. But from a numbers and financial perspective,
Agreed. I think when I took the time to reflect on my university degree and how it helped me in my career was when I made the last student loan payment. Because obviously I had some time to reflect then. I did earn all that money to pay it off. And my findings were it was a $40,000 networking event. You know, it was a $40,000 networking event. And I'm not saying that with any, anguish or like talking down to university, but had a great time at the university outside, very formative years. But all those people I met through university and on that journey, I would trade $40,000 for in a heartbeat, So that's how I view my university experience. But I've never gotten to a point where I've thought what I've learned here directly is helping me here. We might be taking that for granted. It might be very passively learnt, it might be muscle memory, but I agree. $40,000 networking event.
Who's to know what the networking event would have been if you went down like the Harvey Norman sales road and went straight on the tools?
Exactly. What kind of people would I be around? Exactly.
I like the intentionality part of it, and maybe I'll just add to the Lipman's younger brother. Don't try and solve the rest of your life in a single sitting and work out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Work out what your next step is. And then lean into it,
100%.
And don't worry if it's the wrong step. Just take another one.
Think about the long term where you want to end up, and then just as long as you're heading in that general direction, you'll be fine.
And you'll take a few. There'll be a few detours. Quite a few.
Maybe even
some a couple of holes, potholes.
The potholes are the best bits.
Oh, awesome. Well, Brandon, I don't even think we've halfway through, all the stuff I want to talk to you about. So this is definitely by far the longest Blueprint Finance podcast.
Yeah, cool.
We'll have you back on within the next couple of months.
Mate, whenever. We can do it tomorrow if you want.
Rory, thank you so much. This has been such an enjoyable chat.
It's been brilliant.
Hopefully for the listeners, like some valuable lessons, eh?
Yeah, to be continued, eh?
Legend. Thank you, brother.
Cheers,
Love you like a brother, man.
Yeah. You're like a brother to me. Yeah.